जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा कालचंजी राधा कालचंजी राधे। जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे। जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर श्री राधे। जय यशोदा दामोदर यशोदा दामोदर श्री राधे। जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद श्रीला जय प्रभुपाद। जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद। जय गुरुदेव 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 जय गुरुदेव जय श्रीला गुरुदेव। जय गुरुदेव जय श्रीला गुरुदेव। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्री श्री राधा कालाचंद जी की जय, कार्तिक मास की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। We can chant this together. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we're on fifth canto, chapter 25. We'll be reading all the verses in this chapter, which are only 15. So 1 to 15. The chapter is titled The Glories of Lord Ananta. Text 1.
Sri Shukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, "My dear king, approximately 100,000 miles beneath the planet Patala lives another incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the expansion of Lord Vishnu known as Lord Ananta or Lord Sankarshan. He is always in the transcendental position, but because he is worshipped by Lord Shiva, the deity of Tamagun or darkness, he is sometimes called Tamasi. Lord Ananta is the predominating deity of the material mode of ignorance, as well as the false ego of all conditioned souls. When a conditioned living being thinks, I am the enjoyer and this world is meant to be enjoyed by me, this conception of life is dictated to him by Sankarshan. Thus the mundane conditioned soul thinks himself the Supreme Lord."
Shukadev Goswami continued, "This great universe, situated on one of Lord Anantadev's thousands of hoods, appears just like a white mustard seed. It is infinitesimal compared to the hood of Lord Ananta."
At the time of devastation, when Lord Anantadev desires to destroy the entire creation, he becomes slightly angry. Then from between his two eyebrows appears three-eyed Rudra carrying a trident. This Rudra, who is known as Sankarshana, is the embodiment of the 11 Rudras or incarnations of Lord Shiva. He appears in order to devastate the entire creation.
The pink, transparent toenails on the Lord's lotus feet are exactly like valuable gems polished to a mere finish. When the unalloyed devotees and the leaders of the snakes offer their obeisances to Lord Sankarshana with great devotion, they become very joyful upon seeing their own beautiful faces reflected in his toenails. Their cheeks are decorated with glittering earrings, and the beauty of their faces is extremely pleasing to see.
This is so interesting. Even the toenail of the Lord is like a polished mirror. And imagine how our body is. Sometimes white, black, we say all kinds of diseases. But this is the Lord. So beautiful.
Lord Ananta's arms are attractively long, beautifully decorated with bangles and completely spiritual. They are white and so they appear like silver columns. When the beautiful princesses of the serpent kings, hoping for the Lord's auspicious blessing, smear his arms with aguru pulp and sandalwood pulp and kumkum, the touch of his limbs awakens lusty desires within them. Understanding their minds, the Lord looks at the princesses with a merciful smile, and they become bashful, realizing that he knows their desires. Then they smile beautifully and look upon the Lord's lotus face, which is beautified by the reddish eyes rolling slightly from intoxication and delighted by the love for his devotees.
Lord Sankarsana is the ocean of unlimited spiritual qualities, and thus he is known as Anantadev. He is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the welfare of all living entities within this material world, he resides in his abode, restraining his anger and intolerance.
Shukadeva Goswami continued, the demigods, the demons, the uragas, serpentine demigods, the siddhas, the gandharvas, the vidyadharas, and many highly elevated sages constantly offer prayers to the Lord. Because he is intoxicated, the Lord looks bewildered, and his eyes, appearing like flowers in full bloom, move to and fro. He pleases his personal associates, the heads of the demigods, by the sweet vibrations emanating from his mouth. Dressed in bluish garments and wearing a single earring, he holds a plow on his back with his two beautiful and well-constructed hands. Appearing as white as the heavenly king Indra, he wears a golden belt around his waist and a Vaijayanti garland of ever-fresh tulasi blossoms around his neck. Bees intoxicated by the honey-like fragrance of the tulasi flowers hum very sweetly around the garland, which thus becomes more and more beautiful. In this way the Lord enjoys his very magnanimous pastimes.
We know this is a description of Balaram. So Anantashesh is an expansion of Balaram. It's such a swag, right? Balaram only wears one earring. Nityanand also, he used to wear one earring.
If persons who are very serious about being liberated from material life hear the glories of Anantadev from the mouth of a spiritual master in the chain of disciple succession, if they always meditate upon Shankarshan, the Lord enters the cores of their hearts, vanquishes all the dirty contamination of the material modes of nature, and cuts to pieces the hard knot within the heart, which has been tied slightly since time immemorial by the desire of dominant material nature through fruitive activities. Narada Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, always glorifies Anantadev in his father's assembly. There he sings blissful verses of his own composition, accompanied by his stringed instrument, or a celestial singer known as Tumbaru.
By his glance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enables the modes of material nature to act as the causes of universal creation, maintenance, and destruction. The Supreme Soul is unlimited and beginningless, and although he is one, he has manifested himself in many forms. How can human society understand the ways of the Supreme?
This manifestation of subtle and gross matter exists within the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of causeless mercy toward his devotees, he exhibits various forms which are all transcendental. The Supreme Lord is most liberal, and he possesses all mystic power. To conquer the minds of his devotees and give pleasure to their hearts, he appears in different incarnations and manifests many pastimes.
Even if he be distressed or degraded, any person who chants the holy name of the Lord, having heard it from a bona fide spiritual master, is immediately purified. Even if he chants the Lord's name jokingly or by chance, he and anyone who hears him are freed from all sins. Therefore, how can anyone seeking disentanglement from the material clutches avoid chanting the name of Lord Shesha? Of whom else should one take shelter?
Because the Lord is unlimited, no one can estimate his power. This entire universe filled with its many great mountains, rivers, oceans, trees, and living entities, is resting just like an atom on one of his many thousands of hoods. Is there anyone, even with thousands of tongues, who can describe his glories?
There is no end to the great and glorious qualities of that powerful Lord Anantadeva. Indeed, his prowess is unlimited. Through self-sufficiency, he himself is the support of everything. He resides beneath the lower planetary systems and easily sustains the entire universe.
My dear king, as I heard of it from my spiritual master, I have fully described to you the creation of this material world according to the fruitive activities and desires of the conditioned souls. Those conditioned souls who are full of material desires achieve various situations in different planetary systems, and in this way they live within this material creation.
Last verse.
My dear king, I have thus described how people generally act according to their different desires, and as a result get different types of bodies in higher or lower planets. You inquired of these things from me, and I have explained to you whatever I have heard from authorities. Thank you. What shall I speak of now?
Haribo. So today we focus on text 8. A very nice verse. We'll read the word to word. We can read this together quickly. Yaha, who, Eshaha, this one, Evam, thus, Anushrataha, being heard from a bona fide spiritual master, Dhaya Manaha, being meditated upon, Mumukshunam, of persons desiring liberation from conditioned life, Anadi, from immemorial, Kala, time, Karma Vasana, by the desire of fruitive activities, Grathitam, tied tightly, Avidyamayam, consisting of the illusory energy, Hridaya Ganthim, the knot within the heart, Sattva Rajaha Tamaha Mayam, made of the three modes of material nature, Antaha Hridayam, in the core of the heart, Gataha, situated, Ashu, very soon, Nirbhinati, cuts, Tasya, of Sankarshana, Anubhavan, the glories, Bhagavan, the greatly powerful, Swayambhuvaha, the son of Lord Brahma, Naradaha, the sage Narad, Saha, along with, Tumburana, the stringed instrument called a tumburu, Sambhayam, in the assembly, Brahmanaha, of Lord Brahma, Shamshlokayam, Asha, described in verses. Translation, let's read this very carefully. Let's hear it. If persons who are very serious about being liberated from material life hear the glories of Anantadev from the mouth of a spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession, and if they always meditate upon Sankarshana, the Lord enters the core of their hearts, vanquishes all the dirty contamination of the material modes of nature, and cuts to pieces the hard knot within the heart, which has been tied tightly since time immemorial by the desire to dominate material nature through fruitive activities. Narad Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, always glorifies Anantadev in his father's assembly. There he sings blissful verses of his own composition, accompanied by his stringed instrument or a celestial singer known as Tumburu. Purport. None of these descriptions of Lord Anantadev are imaginary. They are all transcendently blissful and full of actual knowledge. However, unless one hears them directly from a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession, one cannot understand them. This knowledge is delivered to Narad by Lord Brahma, and the great Saint Narad, along with his companion Tumburu, distributes it all over the universe. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Uttama Shloka, one who is praised by beautiful poetry. Narad composes various poems to glorify Lord Ananta, and therefore the word Samslokayam, Asa, praised by selected poetry, is used in this verse. The Vaishnavas in the Goddess Sampradaya belong to this disciplic succession stemming from Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the spiritual master of Narad, and Narad is the spiritual master of Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, all devotees in Gaudiya Sampradaya accept the activities of Lord Ananta related in the Srimad Bhagavatam as authentic, and they are thus benefited by going back home, back to Godhead. The contamination in the heart of a conditioned soul is like a huge accumulation of garbage created by the three modes of material nature, especially the modes of rajas and tamas, passion and ignorance. This contamination becomes manifested in the form of lusty desires and greed for material possessions. As confirmed herein, unless one receives transcendental knowledge in disciplic succession, there is no question of his becoming purified of this contamination. Although today we are going to focus on text 8, but also text 9 I would like to read because it glorifies Lord Ananta, and it's very nice if we can quickly read that as well. By his glance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enables the modes of material nature to act as the causes of universal creation, maintenance and destruction. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Soul is unlimited and beginless, and although he is one, he has manifested himself in many forms. How can human society understand the ways of the Supreme? Purport. From Vedic literature we learn that when the Supreme Lord glances, Sa Aikshata, over the material energy, the three modes of material nature become manifest and create material variety. Before he glances over the material nature, there is no possibility of the creation, maintenance and annihilation of the material world. The Lord existed before the creation, and consequently he is eternal and unchanging. Therefore, how can any human being, however great a scientist or a philosopher he may be, understand the ways of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Now begins the very interesting part. The following quotations from Chaitanya Bhagavat tell the glories of Lord Ananta. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami and Narad are all pure devotees into eternal servants of the Lord. Lord Sri Ananta is worshipped by all the uncontaminated devotees mentioned above. He has thousands of hoods and is the reservoir of all devotional service. Lord Anant is the original person and the great mystic controller. At the same time, he is a servant of God, a Vaishnava. Since there is no end to his glories, no one can understand him fully. I have already spoken to you of his service to the Lord. Now hear how the self-sufficient Anantadev exists in the lower planetary system of Patal. Bearing his stringed instrument, the tumburu on his shoulder, the great sage Narad Muni always glorifies Lord Ananta. Narad Muni has composed many transcendental verses in the praise of the Lord. Simply due to the glance of Lord Ananta, the three modes of material nature interact and produce creation, maintenance and annihilation. These modes of nature appear again and again. The Lord is glorified as one without a second and as the supreme truth who has no beginning. Therefore he is called Anantadev, unlimited. Who can understand him? His form is completely spiritual and he manifests it only by his mercy. All the activities in the material world are conducted only in his form. He is very powerful and always prepared to please his personal associates and devotees. If we simply try to engage in the congregational chanting of the glories of Lord Anantadev, the dirty things in our hearts accumulated during many births immediately be washed away. Therefore, a Vaishnav never loses an opportunity to glorify Anantadev. Lord Anantadev is known as Shesha, the unlimited end, because he ends our passage through this material world. Simply by chanting his glories, everyone can be liberated. On his head, Anantadev sustains the entire universe with its millions of planets containing enormous oceans and mountains. He is so large and powerful that this universe rests on one of his hoods just like a drop of water. He does not know where it is. While bearing the universe on one of his hoods, Anantadev chants the glories of Krishna with each of his thousands of mouths. Although he has been chanting the glories of Lord Krishna since time immemorial, he has still not come to their end. To this very day, Lord Ananta continues to chant the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and still he finds no end to them. Hari Bo. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. So we see how amazing these glories are of Lord Ananta, who is an expansion of Balaram. And I really like this glorification that we were, this praises that we were listening, is how Narad Muni keeps glorifying Anant Shesh. Narad Muni is such a pure devotee that he keeps glorifying devotees, he keeps glorifying the pastimes of the Lord, the form of the Lord. And it is so important that we learn from this characteristic that even Lord Anantashesh, he's performing his service in many ways. And and these glories are so touching and so purifying. Just when we hear the glories of the Lord, when we hear Hari Katha, it purifies us. Even if we chant the name of the Lord by mistake or jokingly, that's what Prabhupada says, still he takes away all our impurities. What to speak when we are actually chanting with love, we are chanting with so much attention, where our mind is completely absorbed in the form, the pastimes of the Lord. So we'll talk a little bit about this form of Lord Anant Dev. The interesting thing was, we read how Anant Shesh, whenever he gets angry, and why does he get angry? Does anybody have a guess? Why does Lord Anant Shesh get angry?
Because all the rascals are taking too long to go back to Godhead.
Exactly. And he gets angry, even though he's the Lord, but that's his service. He tries to control his anger, he keeps his anger in check, but he gets angry because the purpose of our life is to realize that we need to go back to Krishna. And when Anantadev sees that we are taking so much time, even if we have, countless times we go through calamities, which is a reminder to ask and grow through it, to ask the important question and grow through it to understand the purpose of life, we're not doing that. And Anantadev gets angry, and what happens? This anger separates from his body and comes out in form of Rudra, which is, we understand that Rudra is a form or is an expansion of Lord Shiva. So this Rudra is the anger that's coming out, and that causes the destruction. So what's so wonderful is that because these personalities are so great, they are in mode of goodness, Shuddha Sattva Gun, the anger does not stay inside of them. It actually just separates from their body. So what we can understand is that we're also trying to be, we're trying to purify ourselves. So we shouldn't really hold on to the anger that we experience. That anger can be there, but of course it cannot separate like the Rudra. But what we can do is that we don't identify ourselves with that emotion. We don't live or bask in that emotion for so long that we say things we don't want to, we act in a way which a devotee would not generally act. So yeah, that's what we need to learn. That, and even Brahma, when he got so angry at the 4 Kumaras that they don't want to get married, they wouldn't want to continue their progeny, and that time also the anger left Brahma's body, and it separated from his identity. So as devotees who are trying to always remember Krishna, should not hold on to these emotions that are completely unwanted weeds in our heart. So because this special month of Kartik is going on, I really thought that, I'm sure all of you are meditating upon something special, some austerity or some kind of quality that you're trying to aspire, or maybe trying to get rid of unwanted quality. Let's say not to criticize somebody, not to get angry, or not to find faults, or maybe chant better, improve the quality of your rounds. And this is the month where you get so much of mercy, because this is Radharani's month. Kartik is Kartika. Kartika is the name of Radharani. So this is the month of Radharani. And when Radharani comes in the picture, you mean it's all mercy. It's so much mercy that any endeavor you try to make during this month, even if you start today, any endeavor, Radha Damodar, they are so pleased that they will give you the power, they will give you the energy to carry it out further. And also they will give you 1,000 times more the benefit. So that's what they say, right? Any activity you do during this month, the result is 1,000 or maybe more than that times you get the benefit of it. So also glories, singing the glories. We heard in this, we actually read in text 8, the most important point, which was hearing in the disciplic succession. It's so important. Why do we keep hearing in, reading in Srimad Bhagavatam that we need to hear from disciplic succession, we need to hear from our spiritual master. And it said that when you chant the holy name that your spiritual master, your guru gave you, you get liberated. You start getting purified. And now one might say, yeah, anybody can start chanting. Well, that's true, yes, because the glories of holy name is so potent. It is so potent, the glories is so high, it's so much that anybody who takes shelter of the holy name has taken shelter of the Lord. It's non-different. And when you take shelter of the Lord, then it's all protection. You're protected from forgetting the Lord, because that's what we do when we are not chanting. We are not remembering Krishna. And when we are not remembering Krishna, that means we have gone in darkness. We start acting out of ignorance. So chanting could be yes, how we chant early morning, how we can chant anytime during the day. But also always the mind is fixed in Krishna. Any activity that you do, you can relate it to Krishna. That's the power which you get from your spiritual master. That's the blessing you get from your spiritual master and the disciplic succession. Without that, it's nothing. Because what does your guru do? Our guru connects directly to us to Krishna. But we go through our spiritual master. And that sambandha, which is already there, that relationship is already there, but we get it becomes active. We get reminded of it. And it's like, so this Anant Shesh is Balaram, and our guru is an expansion of Balaram, right? Balaram is the Adi Guru. So he, just like the many thousands of hoods of Anant Shesh, lifts the universes, so many universes, that is like this particular universe or any universe is like a drop of water that said that he doesn't even remember where it is. It's so light. So imagine, can he not lift us up? Can't he do that? Of course, Balaram is the one who actually uplifts us, who actually gives us the bala, the shakti, the bala that we get. I'm forgetting strength, right? He gives us the strength to carry out our spiritual activities. That's what Lord Balaram does. And he can lift so many universes, so he can easily lift the fallen soul. And our guru is an expansion of Balaram. So when we hear through our spiritual master, that is when the information turns into real knowledge, transcendental knowledge, Divya Gyan. Right? Diksha means Divya Gyan that we're getting, the transcendental knowledge, and Kshaya, which means destruction of our sins. So these two things happen the moment we take initiation. We get the transcendental knowledge. And anybody, one might say, okay, we can anytime pick up Bhagavad Gita and start reading it and can get the transcendental knowledge. Well, that that is true if you are if you're understanding it through disciplic succession, if you're understanding it with the right mood, if you approach with faith. But just like Prabhupada says, even the most knowledgeable scientist or philosopher, what are of they good, of any good, if they cannot understand, they won't be able to understand the glories of the Lord. You can keep glorifying Krishna in front of people, and there would be some people who would be really unaffected and wouldn't really care. They wouldn't be impressed by the pastimes of the Lord. But when we hear Harikatha, when a devotee hears Harikatha, we get all sorts of emotions, right? Yesterday, we attended Amrendra Prabhu's class. We could, do we remember? If maybe some of you attended, but I can tell you what the point was. That whenever a devotee hears the pastimes of the Lord, it's like they're hearing it for the first time. It's not like, oh, I've heard this before. I've heard this Yashoda Damodar pastime so many times. I've been fasting for Kartik every month. I've been a devotee for 20 years. I know what Kartik is. Why do I need to hear this pastime? We should hear this pastime every single day, not just this month, but pastimes of Krishna. Every time we hear it, we need to hear it that we are hearing it like for the first time. So he was telling about the king Kulashekar, right? That he was a king, and he was hearing Ramayana, and when he's heard it, I mean, he's read it before, he knows the pastimes very well, and he was just hearing through his minister who was reciting in the and in his kingdom, and he heard that Mother Sita has been taken away, and he's like, he instructs his army, just get up and we need to go to Lanka now. We need to help Lord Ram. We need to go right away. And everybody is looking at each other and like, okay, yes, we'll go. And they're just, they're just whispering that, okay, what do we do now? What do we do? And then before that, I think what pastime comes, that Kekri, I think it's refreshing us for the play that we saw last 2 days, which was really good. When Kekri sent Lord Ram for exile. So that time also, he got so angry. He's like, if Lord Ram is going there, let us go. Let us go to the forest for 13 years. Let's be there. And they all, march towards the forest. And then one of the minister, the intelligent one, he goes and says, they've come back. They've come back, like the exile is done or something he says. And he's like, okay. And he gets satisfied. Otherwise, his mood is such that the moment he will hear it, that Lord Ram needs, he wants to serve Lord Ram. Any moment he hears a pastime. And because of when he heard that he needs to go to Lanka, they actually go. And imagine everybody is thinking they have to cross the ocean. They need to cross the ocean. And Kulashekara goes inside. So Amrendra Prabhu amazingly, he tells, first he goes knee deep, then he goes waist deep, chest deep, and now with his sword, he's inside the ocean. And there he gets darshan of Sita Ram. And Lord Ram says that, I got Sita back. We are together, he gives his blessings. He says something, and just think about that. How this is madly, deeply, truly madly, deeply in love with the Lord. This is the kind of bhav. We cannot imitate it, of course. We should not imitate it. But when we hear these pastimes, and I could see yesterday also a lot of people got emotional, because when you hear it, it's like you're that bhav, your heart is understanding that bhav, your soul is listening to it, and it's getting reminded the bhav that is there inside, somewhere deep inside of us, and that's an immediate connection with the Lord. Because you understand how glorious the Lord is. There's so much Vatsalya Prem. There is so much the love the Lord has for his devotees. But the devotee will always feel that I have not done enough for the Lord. I can do more. I heard once in a talk, which was really nice, 3 things that we should never complain of. We should always be satisfied. And that is, first, the money that we have, like our financial status, whatever we have, you should be satisfied with that. The money in my bank balance, whatever Krishna has given me, I think it's sufficient. It's more than sufficient. The second thing is the family that we have. We shouldn't complain. We have great family, whatever the condition is. Okay, Krishna has given me this family for some reason. Thank you, Krishna. And the third is the food that we have in our plate, right? Some days we get, we still are very privileged, but we're talking about people, sometimes they get good food, amount of food, sometimes they go starved, they're starved because they don't have enough food or money. But it says that we should be satisfied with whatever we had. But one thing that we should never be satisfied is how much I have done for Krishna, how much I can do for Krishna. That is when that reminds us of gopis. That reminds us of Hanuman. They don't say that, oh, we left our husbands, enough, now the quota of my bhakti is done. Like, I've done that much. We left our husbands, we left our homes. Or Hanuman says that, oh, I burned my tail, it got burnt. I put the whole Lanka on fire. So I have reached, like an exemplary devotional at peak of my devotional service, and now no more. No, they're always wanting to serve. They never stop. And that's what we just read, right? That Anant Shesh is still glorifying Krishna. With his thousands of mouths, he continues to glorify. He has glorified Krishna and there is no end to it. And then he says, he is now glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with an incarnation of Krishna, and still there is no end to it. So what about us? Imagine how beautiful it will be, right? If we can always glorify the Lord. Even in our normal conversations that we have with people, we can meet, they tell us something, they share something good, they share something bad. Somehow we can glorify them. They're also devotees of Krishna. Somehow we can bring Krishna, the hand of God, the hand of Krishna, the mercy of Krishna. Not like always giving knowledge, like throwing it on them, not like that, oh, don't worry, just chant and be happy. Not, just in superficial manner, but the point is when we start glorifying Krishna, that knowledge becomes more real within us. It helps us. It makes our chanting nicer. So it's said that we should always glorify. What are the things we can glorify about the Lord? The name of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the form of the Lord, like how Krishna is from three places. He's standing Treda, right? He's Tribhanga Lalit, and he has got a mand muskan, it is said. It's not as mand muskan means not a smile that shows all the teeth, but like smile which you just see his lips smiling. And he plays his flute. There are so many ways we can glorify Krishna. His lotus feet. People start we read in Bhagavatam, if they start glorifying, even if they start glorifying the toenail, it'll be like so long. Like they'll keep glorifying that part. So it's endless. The glories of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, they say it's uncountable. Like how many waves there are in the ocean, we cannot count them. Maybe one day we can, but still the glories of the Lord we can never count. So we can always glorify His name, His pastimes, His form, His devotees, because that makes Krishna really happy. We can glorify His devotees. We can glorify His dham. So glorification, why? If you try to understand why it is so good, because it is in a mood of service. As a servant, you're glorifying Krishna. So you always know that it creates gratefulness, it increases gratefulness in the heart. And when we hear these glories through disciplic succession, which we are doing because Bhagavatam is a product of, it's compiled by, right now, like the translations are all by Srila Prabhupada, but this is a compilation by Vyasadeva, who come through the Vedanta Sutra. He gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva's spiritual master is Narad Muni, and he's the son of Lord Brahma. So it's in disciplic succession, and we're all in that disciplic succession. So this hearing, just reading right now, just hearing, has cleansed a lot of impurities in the heart. But we need to remember this. We need to take this further and glorify. Maybe you all can read this, go back home, read this, dive deep into it, and maybe think about it. What's your favorite quality of the Lord? Maybe you all can think about it right now because you all keep hearing pastimes of the Lord. What is your favorite quality of Krishna? What is it that you love the most? And you meditate on that quality. You can chant and you can meditate on that quality. You can talk to devotees and tell them this is, because how we do that, right? When we have such a famous friend, or we saw such a nice place, we can't stop talking about it because our heart is so overwhelmed. How can we stop talking about Krishna? That means the heart is not yet overwhelmed with devotion. It said that the bhav that is really coming out when you meet a devotee, you will really understand. When you meet a pure devotee, they'll always be in that consciousness, and it's an outpour of their devotion. It's like when you fill a glass of water and you keep filling it, it's still full, but you're still pouring water over it, then it starts dripping. And that's what our bhakti should be like. Not fake, not acting that we, I'm always talking about Krishna, but inside we are like, see, I made an impression. Not like that, but more like, because, and that will come with gratefulness. Because if you're actually grateful to Krishna, then you can't stop talking about him. And you're so much in awe. So, glories of the holy name also. Special month of Kartik calls for special chanting. Every day, make sure that your chanting is just, it's so fixated that you really connect. You remember that this is the mantra that was given by a spiritual master to you. And it's your responsibility. Chanting actually is a responsibility. As a devotee, we need to chant really nicely. It's an offering to our Guru. It's an offering to Krishna. Why do we say it's the, we say, right? Harinam Yagya Ki Jai. Why? It's a Mahayagya. Yagya means sacrifice, like we do fire sacrifices. But Harinam Sankirtan is the Mahayagya. It is the greatest of the Yagya. So what happens in a Yagya? You sacrifice, you give ahuti. You put ghee, you put some rice, something you put, right? Just like that, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is you need to sacrifice all your attachments. What makes your chanting better? Maybe not like we drive. What makes a good driver? That you need to keep practicing your driving so that you can get good driving skills. And also you need not use your phone, you don't have to drink. So there are some things you abstain from and some things you practice. So chanting, you need to abstain from certain things that you identify are obstructing my good chanting, my rounds. Like maybe sleeping late. Then I wake up late and then I don't start my day with chanting or something. That's an obstruction. That's an impediment. So we give up those things. We try to give up overeating, because overeating means oversleeping, tiredness, laziness, doesn't help chanting. We try to we should not criticize devotees, because that is an offense to the holy name. The holy name has all the power. But what if you put water in the fire? And what will it do? So you need to take that as a responsibility to chant nicely. Because the holy name is extremely glorious. It's given by your guru. So it becomes even more glorious, even more potent. And we glorify the Lord. I'm just trying to wrap it up now, because we're trying to summarize what we heard that was very important, that we keep glorifying the Lord. We keep glorifying the holy name. How do we glorify the holy name? By singing it. How do you show that you believe in something? By actually doing it. By actually doing it. So we do good chanting. We do leave things that really that disturb our chanting. And we practice chanting so much so that we don't start saying, oh, I've been chanting for 20 years and nothing's happening. It's because we're not chanting nicely, or maybe we need to chant better, quality and quantity, both. But quality is really important. I'm sure we all chant minimum 16, but quality, then comes the quality part. And we keep glorifying the Lord, and to make sure that we hear in disciplic succession. So we wrap it up here. If you have any questions, any realizations and comments, please, you can go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the nice class. You touched on it a little bit, but I was wondering if you can elaborate. So, Rudra came from you said Ananta Shesh, but then there's also a pastime where he comes from Lord Brahma's forehead when he was angry. So is it different Rudras, or how does that work?
Yeah, in the morning I was reading this and I was very confused because it kept referring to Shiva, and then it kept saying Ananta is also the many hoods. So I was like, okay, this is Anant Shesh. But so Rudra right now is, one second. Rudra is not actually Shiva that we're talking about. It's like an expansion of Shiva. So it is when they get angry, so that emotion is named as Rudra right now. That it becomes, they're so angry right now that it separates from their body, and that is what they have named Rudra. And even during Brahma, it's not that like they go anywhere, but it's an expansion. And the services that Rudra performs at the time of destruction, he does his service. So even I was confused when I was reading about this. So this is not the Lord Shiva that we talk about, the Vaishnav, the Shiva that we all talk about, but it's a partial expansion of Lord Shiva. So, yeah.
The Shiva that we talk about, is that the one that came from Brahma's forehead?
Yeah. Okay. But this one is like, this is further an expansion of Shiva himself, Rudra.
And that's the one that destroys like everything at the end of Kali Yuga? No.
The Rudra, or
the
destruction, the one who does annihilation?
Because I was always confused about that. Is it Kalki or is it Shiva that destroys everything?
Kalki is going to come at the end of Kali Yuga, and that is when he's going to destroy and take everybody back. I think that's what even I've heard. But yeah, this part is that Shiva that we talk about. This is not the description of that Shiva, but this is Rudra, who is a partial expansion of Shiva. That's what even I've understood. More than that, maybe you and I need to check. But if somebody has any addition to that, if somebody has more clarification, maybe I can check that and get back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question or any comment? Thank you. It's the mercy of Kartik. Everything is relishable, even, right? Okay. Thank you. They just said it's the disappearance of Narottam Das Thakur today, but no fasting. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Kalachan ji ki jai.